At Christmas, my 8-year-old daughter clung to my hand and whispered, "I'm scared of Grandma." I turned my head toward my mother. She was smiling, that sweet, familiar smile she always wore for company. But the moment my eyes caught what was in her hand, something inside me went completely still. I didn't scream. I didn't ask questions. I just moved. 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. The police. Only 10 minutes earlier, I'd been convincing myself everything was fine. Not peaceful, not ideal, but manageable. The living room buzzed with chatter, and Christmas lights glowed softly against the windows. My mother was in her element, drifting around the kitchen like a hostess in a commercial. My ex-husband Derek was laughing too loudly, probably charming someone near the drinks table. Jade, my best friend, hovered near the snacks, giving me that pleading look that said, "Don't you dare leave me alone with Derek." And Lucy, my little girl, hadn't left my side all evening. She was practically glued to my hip. That should have been the first sign something was wrong. I'd made it through the day without crying into the stuffing, and I'd called that progress. But then Lucy's tiny fingers tightened around mine and she gave a tug. I leaned down. "What is it, sweetheart?" Her lips barely moved when she said it. "I'm scared of Grandma." The words didn't sound childish or dramatic. They were flat, matter of fact, like she was simply reporting the weather. I blinked. "Scared?" She nodded. I followed her gaze toward the kitchen. My mother stood at the counter, her back straight, humming softly, too cheerfully, as she spread something over a plate of cookies. Her grin was plastered on, wide and wrong, like it had been rehearsed. For a second I told myself not to overthink it, but then my eyes drifted to the jar sitting beside her hand. It looked almost identical to the nut-free brand I always buy. Same blue label, same curved edges, but something was off. The lid, it wasn't the right color. My stomach dropped. I took a few slow, casual steps closer, pretending to tidy the counter as my pulse raced. Then I saw it. The label was the same, but not quite. The faint line of text near the bottom told me everything. "Contains tree nuts." No. That couldn't be here. We never allowed nut products in the house, not with Lucy's allergy. I'd drilled that rule into everyone for years. Even a trace could send her into anaphylaxis. And yet there was my mother, calmly spreading the wrong peanut butter onto a cookie. A cookie placed neatly on a pink unicorn plate, Lucy's plate. My heart stuttered. My mind tried to scramble for an explanation. Maybe Mom brought the wrong jar by accident, but I saw her unpack earlier. She'd proudly shown me the sealed nut-free jar. This one wasn't sealed. This one wasn't even from my pantry. I never buy the regular kind. There shouldn't be another jar in this house. So where did she get it? And why that smile? I turned away, trying not to make a sound. I went to my purse, pretending to check my phone, but my hands were already searching. The small side pocket, empty. My breath hitched. I tore through every compartment. Still nothing. Lucy's EpiPen, the one I always carried, was gone. I didn't react outwardly. I couldn't. My hands were shaking, but my face stayed blank. I glanced at Lucy. "Let's go to my room for a bit, okay?" She nodded instantly. No hesitation. Just trust. Down the hallway, I closed the door, locked it, and went straight for my dresser drawer. The backup EpiPen was there. Relief flooded me so hard it made me dizzy. I sat on the bed and tried to steady my breathing. "What are you doing?" Lucy asked softly. "Looking for your EpiPen," I murmured. "Oh," she said, her voice small. "Grandma took it." Everything inside me froze. "What?" I saw her. "She took it from your purse. She put it in her bag." The words hit like cold water. This wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. My mind spun. Why? What could possibly justify that? I didn't wait to think it through. I grabbed my phone and dialed. "My daughter has a severe nut allergy," I told the dispatcher. "Someone in my home brought a nut product and removed her EpiPen. I have a backup, but I believe this was intentional." 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the front door. By then, I was still sitting there. Lucy tucked safely against me, one arm around her, the other clutching the EpiPen like a lifeline. My brain kept looping through the same question. Was this really happening? I grew up in a house where keeping the peace meant swallowing every question, every emotion. If Mom was tense, you stayed out of the way. If my brother Trevor left a mess, you cleaned it up. If something wasn't fair, you smiled and pretended it was fine. That's how we survived. Trevor and I were close in age, but the rules bent around him. He could ignore Mom, roll his eyes, do nothing, and somehow he was still the golden child. I was the fixer, the quiet one, the problem solver. Mom used to call me her little second in command. It sounded like love when I was 6. By 16, it just felt like labor. Dad left when I was 10. Divorce, the quiet, tired final. After that, it was just me, Mom, and Trevor. Except really, it was me and Mom doing everything while Trevor floated, unbothered. He still floats. Always between jobs, as if there was ever a before and after. I met Derek in my mid-20s. He was polished, confident, the kind of man who knew how to fill a room. Mom adored him instantly. She said I was lucky, that he was the kind of man who led, not followed. For a while I believed it. We got married. We had Lucy. And for a while it worked. Then Derek offered Mom a job, a nice administrative position in his company. It gave her purpose, identity, something to brag about. She loved being part of his world. But when things between us began to crumble, she couldn't let that world go. When I finally left him, after finding out about the affair, I expected anger, sympathy, anything. Mom just sighed. So he cheated, she said flatly. It happens. I waited for her to say it was wrong, or that she'd stand by me. Instead, you should have stayed. You have a child. I told her I wasn't staying in a broken marriage just so she could keep her job. She didn't speak to me for 3 days. Derek didn't fire her. Of course not. He promoted her, praised her, gave her more control, more money, more reasons to defend him. He's such a professional, she'd say. So generous. And she'd add, almost proudly, he still helps me, even after what you did. What I did. Trevor, meanwhile, stayed neutral. Or maybe just opportunistic. Derek had hinted about a position for him once, and that was enough to keep Trevor quiet. Then came custody. Derek wanted 50%, maybe more. He had money, image, the perfect smile. I had Lucy's scraped knees, bedtime stories, and exhaustion. And when your own mother says he offers more stability, it chips away at you until you start to wonder if she's right. Christmas was supposed to be simple. Quiet. Just me. Lucy, Mom, and Jade. Maybe a few friends. No drama. But Mom insisted, you have to invite Derek. Don't punish Lucy. It's Christmas. When I hesitated, she pressed, this isn't about you. It's about family. And, as always, I gave in. I set the table, hung the lights, told myself I could survive one day of forced smiles. I wasn't ready for what came next. Now I'm sitting in my locked bedroom, Lucy asleep against me. Her little breaths are steady, her face peaceful. The backup EpiPen is still clutched in my palm. The jar, the smile, the cookie. They're burned into my mind. I can't make sense of it. I don't understand why my mother did it, or what she was thinking. All I know is it wasn't an accident, and I don't feel safe. Not anymore. I was still gripping that EpiPen when the knock came. Lucy stirred, her body warm against mine, unaware of everything. 10 minutes earlier, I'd called the police. Now I was just waiting for them to believe me. Waiting to see if this nightmare was real. Then came the sound of the front door opening. Low voices, calm but firm. A man's tone followed by hers. My mother's voice, syrupy sweet, pretending not to have a clue. Officers. Oh, is something the matter? Lucy stirred. Instinctively held her closer. I couldn't make out the officer's reply, but I could easily imagine the expression on her face. Wide-eyed innocence, feigned confusion, that practiced head tilt that screamed, what did I do now? If there were Oscars for manipulative mothers, she'd sweep the category every year. Footsteps approached, growing louder in the hallway. Then came the knock, steady, not forceful or frantic. Police, are you all right in there? I swallowed hard. I'm here with my daughter. We're okay. Would you be willing to open the door? We just want to check in, make sure everything's all right. I hesitated. No doubt of fear of the officers. But because once I opened that door, this stopped being a theory. It would become fact. I turned the knob and opened it. 2 officers stood there, a man and a woman. The female officer had the look of someone who'd seen the worst in people, but hadn't let it harden her. Her tone was even, gentle. I stepped just fair enough into the hallway so Lucy wouldn't overhear. "My daughter has a serious newt allergy," I began. My voice came out flatter than I'd expected. "My mom brought a jar she said was nut-free, but I saw her using a different one, a regular one, the kind we don't allow in the house. She was spreading it onto a cookie on Lucy's plate." I felt my fingers tighten around the EpiPen as I added, "The one I always keep in my purse." It was gone. I managed to find the backup, but Lucy told me she saw her take it. The officer gave a small nod. She didn't look surprised. Somehow that made it feel worse. "All right," she said calmly. "Would you like to stay in the room with your daughter while we speak with everyone else?" I nodded. She stepped away and the door clicked shut behind her. I sat back down on the bed and listened. My mother's performance had already begun. "This is absolutely ridiculous. I didn't do anything. She's just dramatic." She loves that word, dramatic. It's her favorite way to say you can't trust her. Another voice, calmer. Probably the officer. Then more movement. A knock. The same woman officer stepped in. "We're going to check the kitchen and speak with your mother. Are you comfortable with us looking through her bag?" "Yes," I said, no hesitation. She left again. More movement, a raised voice, not mine. "This is harassment. What are you even looking for? That jar was just something I brought. You can't gorifling through people's things just because she has a tantrum." Tantrum. I waited. Then another knock. The officer came in this time holding something in her hand. Lucy's EpiPen. "We found it in her purse," she said. I stared. "The jar," she continued, "is not the same one she presented earlier. It contains peanuts. It's clearly labeled." My mouth opened. Nothing came out. "Would you like to give a full statement now or wait until later?" "Either is fine now," I said. She nodded and left. More time passed. I didn't check the clock. Everything had gone sort of floaty, like my body was underwater, but no one else noticed. Then I heard it. My mother's voice again, angrier now. "You can't be serious. You're really taking me to a station over a cookie." Then the officer. "Ma'am, you're not under arrest, but we don't need to speak with you formally." Then the door. Then silence. I sat there, still holding the pen. Jade appeared in the doorway. Didn't say anything at first. "Can I come in?" I nodded. She sat on the floor next to the bed, looked at Lucy, then at me. "So," she said finally, "quiet evening, huh?" I laughed. It came out sharp like egg asp, but it was real. "I knew she didn't like me," I said. "Didn't know she wanted to kill my child." Jade didn't flinch. She just reached over and put a hand over mine, the one still holding the pen, and that's where I stayed, sitting next to my best friend, holding the one thing that stood between my daughter and whatever the hell that just was, trying to remember how to breathe like a normal person again. As soon as the officers left, I stood up, still holding Lucy's EpiPen like it was the only solid thing in the world. Jade stood with me. I walked out into the hallway and said flatly, "Christmas is over. Please go," no one argued. Derek didn't say a word, just picked up his coat and walked out like he was leaving a bad dinner party. A couple of guests offered awkward hugs. I didn't return. Someone asked if I needed anything. I shook my head. There was nothing anyone could give me that I wanted. Jade didn't leave. She didn't ask if she should stay. She just started clearing plates like she had always lived here. Lucy fell asleep, curled up on my bed. I tucked her in, kissed her head, and sat beside her until her breathing evened out. By the time I made it back to the kitchen, Jade had already washed the dishes I couldn't look at. She handed me a mug of tea and didn't say a word. That was what I needed. We sat in silence for a while. Not the tense kind. The kind that fills in naturally when everything else has been said. "I keep thinking," I said finally, "if I hadn't walked into the kitchen right then." Jade didn't answer. If she'd eaten it. If I hadn't noticed the label. If Lucy hadn't said anything. Still nothing. "Then you did notice." I nodded, took a sip. I didn't say what I was really thinking. That I saw it, yes, but I still waited. Still questioned it. Still stood there frozen, telling myself it wasn't what I thought. The next morning, the phone rang. Unknown number. But I knew I answered it. "Hello." My mother didn't waste time. "How could you do this to me?" No greeting, no pretense. "You called the police on your own mother on Christmas over a dessert." Her voice was furious, controlled, like she'd rehearsed it all night while pacing a holding room. "Good morning," I said flatly. "Don't be flippant, Hannah. You humiliated me. Do you even understand what you've done?" I said nothing. This could ruin me. I could lose my job. "Do you care about that at all? Do you even care what this does to the family?" "Mom," I said, "you brought a peanut product into a nut-free house. You put it on Lucy's plate. You stole her EpiPen." "Oh, for God's sake," she snapped. "You really think I would ever put her in danger?" She wasn't going to eat it. "Not really." I blinked. "What do you mean, not really?" Derek had an EpiPen. He was ready. He was going to step in the second anything happened. She would have been fine. My mouth went dry. "You planned that? You don't understand what it's like to be a single mother," she said, shifting into that disappointed tone I knew too well. "I just wanted to help. I wanted people to see how much pressure you're under. So you staged a medical emergency. It wouldn't have gone that far," she snapped. "Derek was going to fix it. All he wanted was for people to see that maybe you're not managing. And you're not. You're hanging on by a thread." I stared at the counter at Jade, who was now frozen with a coffee mug halfway to her lips. "You think that helps me?" "Think you need help," she said. "Real help. And if you won't ask for it, someone else needs to show people the truth." I couldn't respond. There wasn't a sentence in the English language big enough to hold the amount of disbelief I was feeling. Then she added quieter. "He was going to make sure it didn't get serious. We weren't trying to hurt her, just prove a point." There it was, Derek. He knew. She hesitated just for a second. "It was his idea," she said. "I just followed through." She must have realized what she'd said because she hung up right after that. I sat there staring at my phone. Jade blinked once, then reached over and poured more coffee into my cup like we were just talking about groceries. "So," she said, "your mom's a sociopath." I said, "Apparently in collaboration with my ex-husband." A fun twist. We sat there in silence for a while. The kitchen smelled like old sugar and new coffee. There were still dishes in the sink. The unicorn plate was gone. I didn't want to ask where it ended up. "What do I do now?" I asked. Jade shrugged. "Sue." I let out something between a laugh and a breath. "I meant about Lucy, about everything." "You tell the truth," she said. "You already did the hard part. You stopped it. You believed yourself. That counts." The words hit something in me. I didn't say thank you. I didn't need to. 2 days later, my lawyer called. "You might want to sit down for this," she said. "Should I be scared or relieved?" "Both." She explained that they had received discovery materials from the custody proceedings, emails, screenshots, attachments between my mother and Derek. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't vague. They talked about how they were going to highlight your instability and demonstrate that Lucy needs a more structured environment. They joked about me freaking out on cue. They referenced the jar. The EpiPen Derek even confirmed in one message that they would have one ready to intervene, safely. And then the part that made my stomach turn, my mother asking about the promotion, and Derek replying already done, followed by another message. "When can we bring Trevor in for onboarding?" "Trevor, my brother." I didn't cry. I didn't throw the phone. I just sat there still holding it to my ear, the words stumbling in my mind like clothes in a jammed washing machine. They hadn't wanted Lucy to die. They only wanted it to seem like I wasn't capable of keeping her safe, and they were willing to gamble everything just to prove that. 6 months later, I still read every label twice. Maybe that habit will never go away, and maybe that's a good thing. My mother accepted a plea bargain, chilled endangerment, tampering with medical supplies, 2 years of probation, mandatory counseling, a court order, noun-supervised visits with Lucy for 5 years. Fine by me. I didn't attend the hearing. I didn't need to. I'd already heard everything I needed when she looked me in the face and said she only wanted to help. Derek fired her the moment the police got involved. Said he felt betrayed, which is laughable, considering my brother never even got the job. Derek cut ties with him right after the arrest. He did text me once. Something about loyalty, family, blah, blah, blah. I blocked his number. Never looked back. So yes, I cut them all out. My mother, my brother gone. No phone calls, no apologies, no attempts to make amends. Derek didn't exactly walk away unscathed either. The emails, the text messages, the EpiPen scheme, it all came out in family court. But the district attorney saw more. He was charged with conspiracy to endanger Achild. He took a deal too, probation, a permanent mark on his record. No jail time, but no way to spin it either. His name went public. Within weeks, his business collapsed. Clients vanished, partners resigned, quietly, politely, pretending they weren't fleeing. He put out a dull corporate statement, something vague about stepping back to prioritize family. No one believed it. The judge didn't need persuasion. I was granted full legal and physical custody. He was given supervised visitation only. No overnights, parenting classes, mandatory therapy, a psychological evaluation. If and only if he completes all of it and maintains perfect behavior, he can apply for more. Even he knows it's a lost cause. Now it's calm. Lucy is doing better. She's in therapy. She's talking more, drawing again, and sleeping through the night. She hasn't asked for her father. Jade still drops by with wine and zero tolerance for my self-lame. She doesn't tiptoe around Thestery. She doesn't treat me like some shattered doll someone glued back together. We laugh sometimes now. It doesn't feel like betrayal anymore. I still check my purse twice before I leave the house. Still scan every dessert table like I'm diffusing almond mine made of frosting. That's okay. It's part of the deal because Lucy is safe because I trust myself. This isn't the life I pictured, but it's mine and it's quiet and it's safe. And after everything we've made it through, it's more than enough. At first, I thought losing Derek would be the worst pain. Then I believed trusting my mother was the ultimate mistake. But the true worst thing would have been doubting myself, and now I don't. So tell me, did I go too far or not far?